It's on now.
Oh, now it's back. Perfect. Okay, cool. So, before we start to the next topic, which is going to be modules, let's have again a quick look to what we've done with our code. So this was my code. What did you do?
I used include, and then if the it's include, so it's good.
Oh, nice. Yeah, includes is also pretty perfect. Did you try to change the search?
So,
Like what I
No, like a word.
Yeah.
Just console with
That one.
file size
Oh, it's
for both.
okay.
Test.
that's included. What about you do?
No, like
Yeah. Perfect. Nice.
So
Nice.
data load length.
Maybe you want to do a check
Makes
when it's
sense,
empty.
because, Data is not exist.
So you can actually do a
So
check
we can see-
before start this. Before this, if you can do search if it's empty or not. Okay. Did you try to?
have you a method to check if it's empty?
Like just check if the length is 0 or if it's
Okay, it's full.
Wait 2 days or
Then
over.
include the file, save your file.
And you have that. There's no text. 2 days are over in this one. So we say couldn't find, right?
Yes, still saying right.
But if you try
So now we go to debug. So you're sending a path for file path and search path. What is file path and search path? File path is
Boom.
this, search path is this.
Found
right?
it. Nice.
And we
Perfect.
just to check one thing. You can
rejection index or it's not fast working, but
yes.
Try to go back to the code.
It is
I
the
want
file
to come up with
content
this
page.
program.
What is it?
From my head.
This is an index O with O big O and small f.
The reason is
This was here.
I feel like I want to be there.
Small
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
ones have the same problem.
And this is not comma, but this is
These two
space
are
to remove the space and
these
the
two
dot.
lines
So data
the
dot.
most important.
actually it
This
is
just
not really.
you create a variable and assign.
I think you should come closer so you can see.
Because here we
No, because sometimes you do some spelling mistake when you read. You have the comma instead of the dot, and it's hard to. I cannot read from here with glasses.
Find this one.
You can come closer to me. So because it's sometimes hard, you don't know if it's a comma or it's a dot.
This one.
That's why I just look at my
Yeah, perfect.
It bug this out because it's full. And
Also you can like sit if you have sit next to it, you can also ask that. How's going here? Oh, perfect. So what you're doing? Oh yeah. Yeah. So it's the same. Both files have the same name. Perfect. Yeah. Did you check both cases?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Now I'm going to
Yeah.
check whether it's empty or not.
So this
Yeah.
file name
Sounds
is equal to reading the file.
Read file dot.
Just read file, that's it. You can define it in here.
install.
Now it's different content. So it's meaning it's a real file, right?
Sorry.
I'm not able to say.
All of this is
chairs. All the same, okay.
They're all broken.
Except Marcos one.
Yeah, I got the. This is usually where I sit, like every time.
So if you
All right, perfect. Okay, so now you can see better from here. Yeah, perfect.
I give you a gift.
So,
Gift,
how
perfect.
can we-
That is
Yeah, right.
Okay, so it was very nice to see like different solutions using promises. That was pretty cool. I will quickly again explain what's happening in this code. I will spend like 10 minutes, maybe more, and then we move forward with the next topic, which is modules. You need really to bear with me to the next one because it's a bit tricky. Okay, cool. So those two lines basically require some Node core modules. So I'm requiring FS file system and the utility library, and those ones are embedded, are integrated in Node. You don't need to install them; they are already there. But there will be a point that we install libraries. We will use npm to install and require. There will be the same method, but those ones are already in there, already in Node. Node comes already with them. And actually, just to be clear, you can go on NODEjs.org, and if you hit docs, you can let's say 8.9 test version. If you go on file system, you can see that there is a read file. And you can see this is exactly what we used. And those are all the modules that are integrated. You see there are many. We use this one, file system. And we use also the utilities, this one. And you can read more what is there. And you can actually see there is the Promisify, the one we used. So you can read the documentation of the methods that we use on NODEjs.org. Perfect. So let's go back to the code. So I'm using this util.promisify to take a callback style method. You see callback here. And transform this method in a promise style method. In fact, this you can see it will return a promise here. So now instead of use fs read file, I just use read file p, and I use it here twice. I use for the my file txt and another file.txt. And this second argument is the options. You can see I have options here as a second argument. So the first argument is path, the second is options, and options allow me to put the encoding. And this time I say I want to have the encoding UTF-8, so I have characters. If I don't put that, I will have just a buffer, which basically will appear as random numbers. Cool. And I do this twice. Watch out. This one, at this point, the code is not run. This is just a promise. This just hold a function. So only when we call .then on that promise, it will run. So at this point, nothing has been read yet. This file, my file txt, is not read yet. The file is read when we call promise.all, and then we put the promises in an array. You can see this is an array. This is important. It's an array containing the promises. And only when we call .then, both are run at the same time. So I'll leave a note here.
Do we always use promise.all?
No. In this case, because we want to run two.
Okay.
Or two or more at a time, you can use promise.all. Otherwise, I could have just used read a big file.then.
Oh.
In fact, you can see I can do this. And then I will take data here. It will be in the same way. But this time I use the .all method, which allows me to run multiple at the same time. So they are going at the same time. So here only when .then is called, the promise will run and resolved. When resolved, the function in then method will be executed. Does it make sense? So when we get, so the order makes sense here. So big file returns data and search file returns search. If I swap those two, I need to swap those two as well. So the same order you have your promises in is the same order that the results will come back. Huh? And then I put those two in my check if exist. And then if you go check if exist, it's basically say if the index of it is different than -1, yeah, it's founded. And the index of it basically returns a number different than -1 if it's founded. Is that clear? Perfect. And this is the old code with the callback. We went from this code to this code. You remember that we started with the callbacks, and we said that the callback was actually hard to manage the synchronous flow from the callback. So we say, okay, let's discard that and go for promise, which is better.
And you reduce the time.
Yeah, and also said, okay, we can see our time that we can actually save a little bit of time because promises are actually quicker because the files will be read at the same time. Those kind of things.
Also put the catch method to.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, we could put.
The promise we throw after every callback.
Yeah, we could put a catch. We could put a catch method. Yeah, this is obviously very very simple. Just to show you what I mean when we go from when we use asynchronous code and we go from callbacks to promises. But obviously when we will talk, I think you already had a class about promises.
Yeah, really.
And probably at that class they explain you better about these promises. I'm just going to use them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to explain again what it is. And if you are interested about this, there is a good article about IBM that explains this, what I've done here. And I think it's this one. It is. So I'll put in Slack. Okay. So have a read in. Ever read that article? That article is actually focused on exactly what I've done today. It says promises node an alternative to callbacks. So actually, that article explains what I've done today. They go from the callback to promises, like I did here. Perfect. In case you want to know more about callbacks. Now, we don't want to know more about callbacks. Now we want to use modules. Okay, so if you go here in my slides, you check that the next topic is modules, and we already said what is modules. We said that modules are like a piece of code that holds a set of functions, for example, and yeah, it's quite simple in Node. It's you have basically one technique to export a module, and there's also one keyword required to import that module. It's very very easy. So
how many modules? It's a lot of modules.
yeah, but we're gonna write our own module.
Okay.
So the idea is that we write our own modules today. So we start with a large code and we say, okay, this function could actually be reused somewhere else. Let's write our own modules. So let's split the code down two parts. So just have index.js, we have another file called my module, and then we put our code in there and see how we can export and import functions. This is super important. There is no way you can write a large software without splitting modules. I never seen that in my life. Large software or big software is done by hundreds of modules, literally hundreds of your own modules and of other people modules. Like external library, which I tend to use external library. So, and here one file, so you can see one file is one module. In Node there is one-to-one correspondence, so each file is treated as a separate module. So there is one file, it's one module. So what you see, what I'm going to see today is the classic, I would say classic version. So this is the old-fashioned way of doing it. As I said, JavaScript evolved a lot in the last year or so, and you can use a newer syntax. You can use ES6 syntax with the import. Today we are not going to do that because that requires a little bit of setup, and I think at this time of the day will just make us a bit crazy. So we start next week. We will set up this as first, and then we carry on with modules, and we will see the new syntax. But it's good for you that you know both. You know the classic version and the newer version. I think it's a plus because most of the code that you could potentially work could be written in a like little older version. So it's nice that you know both. So the way you import is this require here, and we already know that. So we require util, and then we'll import this util. What about I want to make this function check if exists and put it in a module so I can use in my other projects? So I just take this and create a new file because we said one file, one module, right? I call this my module.js, and I have this function here. Just copy the function over, right? So now I need to export that function. So the way you do it's module.exports equal check if exists. So now here I can remove that function, just comment it out for a moment, and I can do const check if exists equal require, and then I can import my file, so my module. So now this one will be my function. So let's see if everything still runs. That was very small. Yeah. So you can see that everything runs. And now my function, this function doesn't exist here anymore. I move it in a module called my module, which has a function called check if exists, which I export with this module.exports. This is the simple version. Let's say, what about I want to export multiple functions? Say I don't have a function, but I have a set of functions. Well, you can have an array, right? So let's say if you can have an object. So if I have another function here, we call it sum plus b. So I cannot do this. I cannot have two module exports. I cannot do that. But I can do this. So I can export an object that has as a key that is this one, or sum that is this, or you can actually write it if you want to. You can write it also like this. So I can write it I like to write it like this, but I've seen that you can also write it like this. So you take this one, put it here. Then you can take that out. Depends. I'm not a big fan of this. I prefer this.
But the function has 2 parameters, so
This one?
yeah, what about parameter?
No, it's okay. Just say that this point to this function,
Okay.
and when you import it here, you can do this. Add. So you're importing both, or you can just import one if you want to. So if you see, I can run this again, and I can now also add 2 numbers. So add function from the module will be add, and then it's 2, 3, 2, 4, and it should say
Add the
Some.
function.
You have to
oh, there's
you
another.
have to write some. It's just like
Oh, sorry, it was some. Yeah, right. Yeah, now actually also recognized the function. Yeah. So add function from so this is the sum function from the modules. It's 6. 2 plus 4 is 6.
Can you take more?
I'll take it all over again. So we took a function, this one, that actually was in this file. You remember that was in this file. We took out from that file and we put in a new file called mymodule.js. And this is simple. Then we say let's export this function so I can import from the original file, the index.js file. And the way you do that is module.export and then the name of the function. Then I said, watch out, because sometimes you want to have a collection of functions in one module. And how do you do that? And you'd say, then I show you this method. This is common method to say, okay, I don't export just one function, but I export one object with a list of functions. So that when I import it, I can import it like this. And there's nothing wrong to import just one. It's fine. This doesn't really matter. Obviously, this now doesn't exist anymore. But if I had this and I over, you can see now actually recognize that is a bit. And this is my editor actually automatically recognized that this sum is actually this sum. In fact, if I do command click on the function, it will point me to the file. So they're linked together.
Is there any way we can write like this fs.read, fs.write? So my module can be like my module.sum, my module check if exists.
You could
Instead of importing separately.
You could do this. That's another way of doing it. So so that's one way. You can do this. That returns returns this one basically. And let me take this. So this will be the same. And now I can. Yeah, it would be the same my module, but I can say my module. yeah, let's do my module. Then I can do my module dot, sorry, my module dot check if exists. So I'm calling the function, and this function is returning an object. Or you can actually also do that, I think. And then you don't need that anymore. If I'm not mistaken. Need to double check that. But yeah, this is one way of doing it. You can actually have a self-invoked function here. I think this makes it slightly more complicated. Then I think I don't need that one. Yeah. If you want to remove the parentheses, you can have a self-invoked function. Yeah, so this is a function here. And then I wrap the function and I call it. And this will return this function. There are different ways you can export stuff. Like my personal opinion that the simplest one is actually fine. You don't need to go too fancy. The simplest is more than enough. So this one, but I'll leave this in so you can use whatever you want. So this one will allow you to require one by one. So you can do check if exists and some.
So these are key values.
Yeah, yeah. Those are the key values that match those ones.
My question is like, can you take like maybe 10 or key values?
Yeah, you can do whatever. If you have another function here, let's say you can simply do that. And then if you go here and you do comma, you can actually see that there is a new one called a divide. And then you can start to use divide. If we go over it, you can actually see that it's telling you that it takes two, take A and B and returns a number. One tiny, nice, cool trick. If you write something here, you see that automatically give me this documentation, this special comment. If I do number here, when I'm over this file and I take this, it will show, instead of any, it will show number. So look the difference now. Let me split screen this so you can actually see what I mean. So here when I import this function and I go over it, we'll see now number because I brought number here. So if I take this and I remove it and save it, when I go over, we say any. See? So when you can, remember to write some documentation by this and this, and also maybe function that divides to numbers. So when I call it, let's say I call it here, and I do divide.
It misspelled number, that's why. Anyway. Yeah, in the declaration documentation, misspelled number.
Oh, okay. But if I go here, sorry, here, I want to show you that it actually, yeah, that's it. It took from the comment. You see this help here? It took from the comment. and and takes two params, A and B. A and B. So you can have these special comments that help the developers that use your library to use the function.
What if you hover on the check if exists? So gives us.
So check exists now say data any, search any, and returns void. It's not exactly any, right? This actually is a string. You cannot just give anything. That's actually a string, right? So it would be nice that if I go here.
So you should write the code above the function.
So data is a string, and this is a string. Text search to search into words to search. Function that search in a text if a word exists. So now when I go and use check if exists, data string, search string, text to search into function that search in a text if words exist, and then data is the text to search into, and search is the words to search. So you can actually, when you export modules, it's important to give a little bit of documentation together, and that's one way of doing it. And this is fully automatic, and it's well recognized from all the different IDE. For example, Visual Studio Code, Sublime, and so on and so forth. This will work pretty much everywhere. Okay, so that was my tip and trick. I'm just gonna leave it there. Save. Let's see if everything runs. Nope, index of undefined. Where are we? Module 2.
It's in the exist function.
Let me remove that one. Let me remove the sum is fine. Cool. Yeah, I call that function without any params. Correct. Okay, everything is working. So you should do the same. We have like 45 minutes. Try to do the same. Try to take the function that you have in your code or anything that you have in your code and try to create a new file, copy that functions there, and export it and re-import it from the main file. It's okay what I said. That doesn't make sense. And also try to write some documentation together with your module. Because the difference between code and software, the software is code and the documentation. And you are not code developers. You are software developers, right? So
it's very important to have the good documentation.
Yeah, so documentation is important.
And also the name, whenever you're calling the method name, should be readable. It's what the method does.
Yeah.
And try not to copy this example. Try something new.
Yeah. Don't. I don't prepare my code. I write together with you. I do errors, bugs. My code is crap. The name that I use is not the best. This has to be like an inspiration for you to say, okay, I understand what I would like to do, and try to do it on your own. That's why I don't put my code on Slack or other, because you should type and solve it yourself.
Input module. So for the this has been internet. Node export module. Export. That's it. So this is a return and this is you can write Ctrl F, export, dot, and N. Let's export. So okay, let's select input. Include brackets. Anyway, let's try this. Close. Take class a function. With one function, just zero function. Such code. It's very so you already imported those. Yes. But you're calling input module with the value.
So just call the
dot, see if it's clear. If it's giving you, because it's one method, right? So it will not require calling extension like separate between these. Yes, it's right. Brackets. And then can you go there and go file? And write a console log somewhere so you can see these on top maybe. Yeah, in the function, such a write a console just to see if it's what I was done. No, it's good.
Not fun.
So just this file is not found. Dot maybe. Dot slash. This way. Dot js.
Cannot really calculation.
Save file. So here you're not sending any information. I think you just try it and then ask the question first. If I'm solving it, then it will be. You just try to find out, right?
I need to return this. If I return the function, then it will be, and it's better I am returning here. I just return the return here.
It's okay. It doesn't make a difference. But what is the error saying?
And it is still the same.
You can try to read the error message. That's very important.
They dot length.
Cannot read .length, which file, which not line, modified line number 7. So it's complaining here, not already done, right? So it cannot read this length. Why it can't read? Because if you try here, right? And why are you using this module here, right? Here, right? So are you passing anything? So now it's come handy, like see, this is required data and such that you're not passing anything, right? So it can't read dot length.
watch out that when you import modules, your own modules, you need to start with dot slash. You see this one, it's important. If I remove that one and I just say my module, it will not look into the folder that I'm in. It will look into the global modules. You need to have the relative paths. So dot slash and then the name of the modules. Or if the module was another folder, you will put dot slash name of the folder slash then name of the module.
Yeah. Good thing. So you comment it.
You should just.
So again, try to read the error. What's the error saying?
And then
You cannot read the
Data is not defined. What do you mean?
it means that
On this come to line 18. On this come to line 18. It don't find the data. So here there's nothing declared data above, right? So you can copy paste inside. So here the data is available, right?
This one? This one?
And then choose that.
Sorry?
So module loaded means that your message is showing that you load the module. So you can delete this later on. And also,
unhandled promise rejection
yes,
reference search is not defined.
the assumption of word is not defined, right?
Yeah, that works.
Like you type it in this. Try to
Yeah.
type.
Yes. Can you identify why this?
Like the comments.
Yeah, you first remove it, then you
Search
type.
word is not defined.
And which line, why, which file, why is it?
Okay.
So promise promise is here.
Try to find for a while.
Yes.
I know what is it, but give a try.
I don't know why. I start working now.
Maybe you remove it.
This function is outside
Actually, I am this one
Mm-hmm.
and returning.
Mm-hmm.
This is export
How does working? I don't
and
know.
yeah,
Also, no,
I'm
I
exporting
can.
this and I want to console them.
Yeah, this is what the function very quick.
Yes. And what is doing? What is doing?
I just want to
About the function.
print out
Yeah, I
my
understand
return
that.
my
It-
full name.
So now you need to try to
My
ignore
name.
this.
She's looking. She
Yes. It's giving some error, right?
My name is not defined.
My name is not a function.
Function.
And which file, right? Why is saying? And .j. Can you just edit this line 3, right? Line 3.
You know,
So basically it's saying, right?
Marco?
Yep.
So this comment it only works when you put it above the function.
So
Yeah.
if you can click,
So when you don't put it above the function, it
do you
just
get
gives
No, you need to you need to put it you need to put it above the function.
So for instance, you go to this file module person, right? So you can try to write some documentation and comment. Write some documentation.
like
this? Yes. Like this one.
همه function
You can just write on top. This is in-person function.
Here?
Just some line, yeah, to see show you what. No, yeah, on top. So this is a person module.
This is a person module.
Save it.
Module. Okay.
And go to this module and see if it's coming under my name.
My name.
Can you click on my name? I mean, hover over. Yes. Does it give you this my name? This like text, the one you just refined. This is a person function.
Yeah.
Is it showing here?
No.
Why is it showing?
No.
Yes. So meaning that probably you are not connected with this
With a prem.
with the module.
With
So from App.js, your person is not connected to each other. So now you need to find why it's not connected, right? So can you go to the person? It is very important to see anything there that you export it properly. Your export function works.
Yeah.
So can you just check this spelling here?
Filing function.
Here, can you see the difference? With the S.
Exports.
Just now, can you go to the file again, App.js, and hover over on my name? Now you see the difference, right? Now you see more information. Like this is a person, whatever text, doesn't matter. Now these are linked, connected. Now you can.
Now it means that if I
If you
get
don't see this,
if I get this message through a form,
you export it correctly?
and get information, it means that they are connected and we imported our module.
No.
No?
How do you see this message here, right?
Yeah.
So it can mean two things only. One is like you export it properly, and you import it properly. That's it.
Okay.
And if the function does the work or not, that's another thing. That we can debug, we can run and see if it's working or not. Now we can execute it.
Thank you.
Now it's saying what? Undefined. Yes, very funny message, right?
Yeah.
And it's not showing anything, like no line number, nothing, right? Here,
Yeah.
there's no line number because it is not giving
Any information.
any error. So your code has no error.
Yeah.
But it's not showing what you're expecting. Can you go to this specify what the function you have written here? You have written something that concatenated names, right?
Yeah.
Concate. And then it returns, right? But to do this, so what is an undefined? So it's basically doing concatenation. So it's just concatenating undefined plus undefined because
We don't have a console to write on.
No. When you go to App.js, my name, hover over. So it expects two parameters, right? First name and last name. Did you send any?
No.
If you don't send any, then it automatically set a value undefined for the variable you define in the function, right?
Okay.
So that's why it's undefined plus. So if you write one parameter here, value, something. I mean, it expects string, right?
Value two. If I give these two values,
No. Let's try with one. Just to see debug, like how this function things works. So how do you see invert comma?
divisible for plus divisible
Single quotation.
divisible.
single quotation.
Yeah, this one, right? So you can say shit, right?
Yeah.
Just save it and execute it.
Onu bilememiştim.
It's still undefined. So there's a problem somewhere, right? So now we go and debug this thing.
Halen in function'a ince bakardım.
So basically, you were saying first name and last name, and then you are already rewriting the first name and last name.
280.
So it doesn't matter that if you define, if you send this here or not, right?
Yep.
So what if you remove this thing?
No, I'm moving to some.
Yeah.
And copy and then
And now I think it will not need any parameter.
yeah,
So
because you already,
I'm mesela on
you already have defined the parameter inside.
So now I'm
Yeah,
just
Can you write to
now I'm
close
here.
one more?
So check if it's this one column.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then now
I'm
you can
really
have this
cool.
one. Still undefined.
Onun için
Undefined thing. Can you call this method? Yes. So basically, it is saying this person name you have defined correctly, and then you have to return something, right? And now I know exactly what the problem is. I want you to debug what you go do, right? So now you think, okay, I don't know what is wrong. I can't find. Let's do this. Sorry, comment. No slash. Yes. Yes. Forget everything, right? Comment everything in the function. This one, that one, comment everything. Okay. Comment everything. I don't know what's going on. I can't find. Right? Then you can go here,
Yeah, but
Could you block it in?
right? Return
but ismi to the function
space
Function
some text with a colon. Invert comma.
inverted.
Or single quote. I don't know what it's called. Yeah. Something. And then semicolon. And then save and execute.
It means that we want to see that the function is working.
Is it working or not? Because it's not giving you a line number, nothing, just undefined. What the heck?
My function is
It's
working.
working. So basically, your function is working. So there's nothing that your function is not here. You have to return or do something else. No, you have to return, right? What is the problem now? Is it here or here?
Here.
So now, just can try to debug. I can see the problem, but I want you to
Yeah.
spend 2 minutes to see it.
But equal. Around is require equal. No, to be equal. Mesela require ismi folder.
Folder olmazsa kendi
Bence onun parantezden bile. Fasılın nazar. Onun bakacağını göre çiz. Katış
And you're
kanta şu.
passing a name and checking if his name is cat.
Ama cevap bir yapar.
Correct.
Require my
Otherwise,
model.
Parantez bezler.
what to do otherwise?
Could track. Emir beginner.
Dige ismi folder.
So I put, I call it, I don't know.
Okay, fine. And then man is not defined, right? Otherwise, so basically you have defined the main function in my module, right? Main function, and you have to do two things. One is you have to export here, so it's available for Word to consume it, and then you have to import man equivalent, comma man, yes. And you need a comma. It's JSON object, so you need a comma here.
But it comes with file.
So now it is exported,
Comes
it
with
is
file
available to
function.
use anywhere, right? So now you go to here, and then here you need to
Function
import
Falcon.
it. You need to
Your
write,
Falcon.
yes.
Function.
Yeah.
Function همش
Yes.
function نمیدونی این function این همه چی function این
Now it should be, let's try it. You shouldn't say that previous error.
Correct is not.
So return correct, but it's not something is incorrect, right? Says correct is not defined. What is it? My module and line number
Then job.
11. So what is correct? Did you define this? What is? Can you explain what you mean by this correct?
I wanted it to like console.
No, I want to know what you mean by this. Okay,
if
If name is
the
there,
name is, then I wanted the program to give the feedback.
Feedback, okay.
That it's correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. So you want the feedback like it should say yes, correct, like that?
Yeah.
Okay. So in that case, it is saying not defined, correct isn't defined. So it is interpreting it's a variable. Did you define it as a
That is not.
but you said it's a text, right? So if you do this, convert it to text, I don't know how do you okay. So now it's a text. It's not variable. It's a string.
Yeah.
So now it is a variable.
Now I'm learning.
Yes.
See?
See, error is gone.
This one is correct. But in here it's not it seems. If I make a plus b,
Yeah.
then I divide by 2,
Yes.
I get 0.
You will zero.
My values, yeah, I have
Yes.
9, I passed in 9, 8 to be 9 and b 9.
So what the average would be?
I think it should be.
Can we do quick math? Yes. So you are saying average of 9 and 9, right? So average should be 9, right? You think so? Then fine. So we go to this. So if you do it in real world, how do you write the math? How do you find the average?
It's total, is it sum?
You will use sum.
Total sum is
You do sum and then
divided by the number.
divide by how many numbers, right? If it's a 2 number, then 2. If it's 3 number, then 3, right? If you are so now you can say you are taking the sum, right? That's perfect.
Ben sanmacı taşıma bir uçma. Her canlı
Divide in Danish, not in computer divide like this.
No. This is, you cannot write anything you want in there.
Parentheses,
Yeah.
You don't have to write anything?
No, you need to write, you cannot write anything. You have to write a string, for example.
Okay.
Is it
Or
from the
number.
JavaScript?
Not a...
it's a model.
Something
Like
like
Yes.
divide
I just write that module from here and the app.js they just write here. So we
Yeah.
import.
Yes. What
So
about
in
my
Danish,
name?
they write
It's a function.
the divide like
It's a function. What about you don't pass
if you
the...
right? I don't know. No, not divide.
So if
Minus.
you go back to...
Then
Instead of has a fixed here.
This I have
If
to
For example.
order something like
So like the first name,
minus
because this is wrong,
Yeah.
right? You say
percentage.
those has two
It is very
params, but it's
precise,
not.
Not here.
Okay.
In programming, it's like a
It's two params, right?
I understand.
So now you have first name. Yep.
thank you, bro.
Last name.
Mm.
Yeah. Last name with a small L, huh?
These were the, if I want to,
Yeah, L. Small.
yeah, two
Perfect.
modules. These are the final.
So now you can remove those two lines.
These two lines.
Export and import.
What?
Export
Yeah, it's called.
and
Yeah. Try to format your document.
Yeah.
Right
That
click.
was this one. The previous
Right
one.
click anywhere. Just
Just
here. Yeah,
And
anywhere.
all,
And
then
then
format document.
No,
you need
I
not to do anything here. I just put the
Perfect. So now if you go in
then I
your
call
in your
okay, it means that when we have to write this documentation by friend, it means that we are
First thing.
sending these parameters.
written
Yeah.
Documentation.
Yeah.
And when somebody, as a other developers, they use my
they know that that has to be a string.
Yes.
You are exporting search word and read first file, right? These two functionality you have written.
Yeah. So
When
now
you're
my
exporting.
name.
So
If you go back to your code,
and then
Yeah.
you can
my name
put
needs
anyone
to have two params.
in the world
Yes.
who can read your
So
file.
that would be two strings.
So now you are
Two
reading the
strings.
file
I
to
can use
import,
any.
right?
Yeah, you should put your
When you're
first name and last
importing
name.
this thing, then you have to import the
No, you
methods
put your first
also.
name, which is
So
First
you have two
name.
things: search word and
My
read file.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm calling it.
Define both of them
Brush.
in a string.
Yeah.
like curly braces.
And
No, you need to put it in a string. Yeah.
Yes.
No. There are two params. So one after the D.
Yeah. In here.
So one. It's two.
I have two. Yeah, like this.
And then exactly the way you
Yes.
export it.
I have problem with
No.
keyboard.
You again close the curly braces. I don't know how to close it.
And this here.
Yes, exactly. So now go to module
All right.
and then
Now I
copy
have to
these
save
things.
it.
Both. Just the first word.
Yes.
Key. Yes. Just key.
I'm calling here and getting two parameters in that.
And then you pass it,
Yes,
and
Yes.
then we'll
First here. Remove this
give back
import
a
file
string.
module because it doesn't match.
and that would be printed by the
And,
console.
Right. You remove. It should match. It should match you.
Like,
And then you just.
no, yeah. If your function doesn't
and this
have
is because of
parameter,
prints that I'm
so
Yes.
you can do it.
So now you can have another
You
function
have a
here
file.
yeah.
that
It's
says
imported.
hello.
What you are importing.
Let's say make
Few of
another function line 12.
You can decide I want to
Line
only search
12,
file. I
yeah,
don't.
yeah.
I don't
So
use
let's
file.
make
So I
another
can
function.
invoice
Yeah.
can use it.
Yeah, let's take another function.
Yeah.
Let's say say hello.
So now you have
Function.
two things
Yeah.
ready and you import it. But
Hello.
this function, import module is gone now because it's not existing.
Yes. And then I
So
can use-
this function will actually has no parameters,
Okay.
and then
before
we'll
you do that,
call
you
this
try to
function,
execute
Yeah.
and see
and
what the error is.
you will say hello. My name
It was the
is,
previous
and then
But
we'll
let's
call
see,
my
yeah.
name.
Even
So
the right
you return a
error
string?
messages, what it
Yeah.
says.
So return string. Then you put then say hello. My name
hello.
is.
Read file for
Hello.
A lot of
comma.
Comma.
So you go to
My
one.
name.
I think clear the string.
Yes.
And then you do
like this column.
yeah. Then you here.
I've made some
Plus,
plans
you
today.
say
I can concatenate.
plus, yeah.
Module the 25.
Plus, and you call that function my
Yes.
name.
Yes.
Fix all the
My name.
My
Name.
name.
So
My name.
what is
My
it? Sorry.
name.
Yeah. And then you pass your name.
What is it?
read file.
Is not defined.
Yes, read file.
In a
So 25. Where's this file? Now line number 25, right?
Yes.
And
I was going-
25 here. This method. You are trying to calling the file, right? File method.
Nice.
And how did you
Yes.
Now you need to export the function here.
On here.
you define it
So you
here?
call-
already an
But
object
then
and then
it's
I
not
call
available
and
here.
now I
Yeah.
function
It
say
doesn't
hello.
work like that.
Yeah.
You have to define it there as well. So probably you can take the whole
Say hello
things
and
thing there.
the pair.
Say hello.
Say hello. Yes.
On top.
Save.
And now save.
After
Now you go in your app. Nothing
Oh
changed.
no, nothing changes.
So let's call it the say hello now.
Now
Yeah.
Read
First of
file.
all, import
Still
it.
still not there.
hello.
It's there. Enter.
Yeah.
It's already there. You see.
Read file.
So when you type,
It's fine.
have a look here because
Okay,
these
I have-
enter
I can take.
and
Yeah.
easy.
Or down.
And you need to call it right. Now you import it. You need to call it now.
I just called it. You can call it here. Hello.
Yeah.
Here is, this is not the file.
Console dot.
And we read first file. But
See.
take argument.
Read file is not defined, right? Now we go to this one. So you are trying to read file somewhere here down.
Yes.
This one, right? And if
And
saying
these are the two functions that
So,
have been
read
exported
file
to the
and
Yes.
Thank you.
There are two functions and one function that you
Without
export inside your
parameters
file.
and what they will
and for that you need a module to read the file.
Exactly.
And what's the module?
Module is
FS.
yes.
So here, wherever you want to read the file or something, you
Very
need to
cool
declare
that
this in FS.
our function doesn't have a parameter, so they don't give us this comment automatically.
No. So if you have a function
Now,
that
if you
has
read
no
the file,
param,
here
and you do that,
dot,
and if I do this,
you see,
Doesn't give anything.
Right? So now it
But
makes
if I
sense.
call it here,
Here as well.
it gives that that is a number,
And
Now you have a
and this is
file path and search.
first number,
I think you call it like this, my file
Number,
and such like. That's better name.
second number.
Okay, otherwise it's confusing. My file and
This
sorry. What was it?
this function has two numbers. This function should return
So here's the
the
problem.
sum of
File is small I, right?
two numbers. Perfect. But if I do it here, you can see because there are no params, it will not automatically give me anything because there are no params. But if I had something here,
You don't need to read here separately.
then I do this one, it will say,
And
it will autocomplete. So yeah,
school.
perfect.
Yes, now we can try. Let's see. Read file
I did some function to reduce
in
the
module.js.
some numbers in array, also some
Okay.
difficulty in
Okay.
functions.
So
Mm.
basically we have deleted something, maybe it's correct. Read file. But you don't need this method actually. I'm saying. So but what we are going to do actually.
Actually, I was going to read the file.
Let's do it from the beginning because I can see the code is messy now. So in the first file, so what is the responsibility for this
Actually,
first file?
first was that it is comparing two files,
Yes.
the bigger showing which one is the bigger.
Yes.
So that was this method, search for. And after that, I want to make some function that just read the first file length. So I call that function here.
Let's do it like beginning. We just control Z.
Those chairs, huh?
They were just moving this one. Say, why is moving this one?
Okay. So now you are saying that can you do console log,
Yeah.
console log data?
No, this one.
We don't need this after all. We don't want to go. So here inside comments. Console log. Can you just try it?
I think I'm getting all confused with this.
We don't
Console.
need this at the moment.
It's confusing, or it's confusing.
Yes.
It's been confusing, but I think I've got it.
Okay, perfect. I'm
Yeah,
really happy
I'm
to hear. Okay, excellent.
It might be fine in the
Read that.
Okay, I wanna.
So let's
So we have-
fix this first. So here, read file, and it can't find the method read file, read first file here, right? And okay, where this next one from?
Okay, guys, if I can have your attention for 1 second, I want to say a few things before we go. First of all, thanks. I think it's actually very good classes. I'm gonna be honest, better than expected. I think we can go quicker than the curriculum. This means that you will learn more than there will be in the curriculum. I predicted we can do more. But there's always a but. Always. 4 hours per week, it's not enough. It's simply not enough. Like, I can squeeze as much as possible, but I cannot go like a train and not listen to you and just, talk forever and carry on. You need to watch those things yourself again without me to double check that you have them. And I'm not expecting that you have 100% control of every small detail that we talk about, but at least you know how to fix it and how to, figure things out. I'm not expecting that next time we see each other, you know everything by heart, and But I wanted you to understand what's a module, so what is, how we use promises for speed up the code and so on and so forth. This is not the only, income. This is not only the only stream to learn. There are online courses, there are good articles online. The only things you need to put in some effort. That's coming from you. So I cannot come and call you one by one and say, hey, you need to study today or whatever. Cannot do that.
I feel that. I feel I have all the resources with me. But I don't know how to
I think nowadays we are very lucky to live in a world that you have teaching, you have online courses, you have articles, you have computers. We are lucky. We are living on the lucky side now. So now it's really just about you. Just about you. Put some time in it. Honestly, that's it. Because I promise you, none of those things are hard. They just take a bit of time. You need to spend time on it and put, scream on the computer for a while. That's pretty much it. There's no magic.
Yes. I'm going to add a few words with you. So it's very natural that you are not following or you're not getting actually grasp of it. It's fine. But the most important thing is that if you have a question, raise your question. Just ask it. Here, it's a very short time, 4 hours. It's not much. You can ask the Slack. We are here. I'm also here. Like I saw Marco is all online available most of the time.
Yeah,
anyone can answer your question. So just shoot your question and get clear the confusion you have.
And on top of that, there are good articles like the one I sent it to you. Please read it twice because it's a good thing. It makes a lot of sense and it's written by pro people. It's people from IBM. It's a good article. Second disclaimer: I have a YouTube channel as well on where I teach some of this stuff. So this is my personal YouTube channel. You can see. This is. I try to put 1-2 video per month or something like that on and they are, as you can see, they are quite short. You can have a look there, and there are a billion of others people putting videos on YouTube. So this is just a shameless plug.
I'm thinking JavaScript full stack and NODEjs and Treehouse.
Yeah, there is Treehouse courses, Udemy, edX. ProSite. There are many.
And I'm searching for challenges like Codecademy or FreeCodeCamp for Node, but I don't find any.
Free? I'm not sure. Is there a free Codecamp or something?
Yeah, but does no.
I'll put it aside and just put challenges. So there will be like exercises, and you can go and against them. But there is one homework for you. I usually don't give a lot of homeworks. I'm one of the teacher here that gives less homeworks, and I'm famous about that. But I don't take bullshit. So if I say that you need to do that, you need to do it 100%. I don't like people say I don't have time because usually it takes half an hour. I'm pretty sure you can have half an hour in a week.
Yeah.
So I prefer to say I didn't do it because I didn't want to. But don't come back to me and say I didn't have time or that. I don't like that. So the homework is like super simple. You need to use promises, module, and write a software that does anything you want in Node.js. So basically, you need to you do whatever you want to do. I don't care, as far as you use promises and you use modules. So import, export, all those kind of things. That's it. The homework. One software, one program.
Can you just quickly write on Slack?
I'll write on Slack.
And make sure to add a emotion on it, like or something, so we know that you guys have really done this.
Yeah.
Do you have some pages like last time in JavaScript class? You have some GitHub pages, and there was all of the homeworks. But I can do that as well. Okay.
Yes, but this time the homeworks, like we're not using Git at the moment. So for this time, the homeworks is just like a free,
Yeah, like this one we had
Yeah.
say week 1, week 2, week 3, and
I remember.
until week 9.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
I remember you had like, was it a slide? One slide and you're updating it every time.
Yeah, and I'll do the same. I'll do the same. Yeah, this is one big slide for all the weeks. You can see actually if I go to the next slide, say week 2.
Yeah.
So this is one big slide for the entire course, and I can add a slide here with the exercises. So you can you have one document with slides and exercise, and then this will be on Slack as well. I'll put everything later today, but you already know the exercise.
It's also been shared with the team, or?
Yeah, it will be those slides are shared, and feel free to comment on the slides if there's a slide that you say, oh, this is crap, or should be modified. Perfect. Thanks.
Thank you. Just into my application that the deadline is until 15th
Okay.
of March.
Okay.
So then I will start with those things. It's called JavaScript.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.